Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to uncover the hidden architecture behind our deepest relationship patterns. Have you ever wondered why perfectly rational, highly capable people suddenly act, well, entirely out of character when it comes to romance? It's wild, right? Today, we're unpacking the fascinating psychology of attachment styles so we can understand the invisible forces driving our connections.
So, why do we act the way we do in love? It's a huge question, and let's be real, we've all been there. Or, we've dated someone who has. One minute, everything is going beautifully, and the next, you're sending a barrage of double texts in an absolute panic. Or maybe you're on the other side of it, suddenly feeling totally smothered, needing to just pull away and hide, leaving your partner completely confused. Why do we act in these baffling, honestly counterproductive ways when we're just trying to navigate intimacy? We so often blame ourselves or we blame our partners, assuming it's some deep-seated character flaw. But the reality? It's far more biological and, quite frankly, way more interesting.
Moving right along to Section 1, Wiring the Brain for Love.
This brings us to John Bowlby's foundational attachment theory. This is the concept that early bonds with our caregivers literally wire the brain's expectations about love and safety. And I really want you to focus on that word, wire. We aren't just talking about vague, fuzzy childhood memories here. We are talking about neurological scaffolding. Think about it. When you're an infant, you're entirely dependent on your caregivers for survival. You can't feed yourself, you definitely can't protect yourself. So your highly perceptive little brain acts like a sponge, just constantly observing how these giant figures respond to your needs. Do they soothe you when you cry? Are they consistent in their warmth? Or are they sometimes there and sometimes just completely checked out? How your primary caregivers respond acts as a permanent blueprint. It creates this deeply ingrained expectation in your nervous system of what love is actually supposed to feel like, and critically, whether connection equals safety or whether it equals danger.
Which leads us to Section 2, the 3 attachment styles. Now, there's a pretty stark contrast between the two primary responses to early environments. Let's look at the anxious attachment style first. If you grew up with inconsistent care, maybe your caregivers were incredibly loving one day, but emotionally unavailable or super stressed out the next, your young brain learned a pretty terrifying lesson. It learned that love is scarce, it's unpredictable, and it could just disappear at any second without warning. So what's the logical, biological response to that? You cling. As an adult, any slight shift in your partner's tone of voice, or even just a delayed text message, triggers that old primal fear, and your nervous system just screams, hold on tighter. But then conversely, we have the avoidant attachment style. If a child's early bids for connection were routinely met with rejection, or if closeness actually felt overwhelming and emotionally dangerous, well, the brain adapts in the exact opposite direction. It learns it can only rely on itself. To an avoidant attacher, intimacy genuinely feels like a threat to their autonomy and personal safety. So when a relationship gets a little too close or too emotional, their nervous system pulls the fire alarm. The natural instinctual response is to shut down, build an impenetrable wall, and retreat to safety. It's not that they don't care, it's that closeness literally feels physically unsafe.
And then we have the third style, which honestly is often the most complex and misunderstood. That's disorganized attachment. Basically, this means living in both worlds at once. This typically develops in childhoods where the caregiver, the exact person who's biologically supposed to be your source of absolute safety, is simultaneously a source of fear. It creates this impossible biological paradox. You are hardwired to seek closeness for survival, right? But seeking closeness brings terror. As an adult, the disorganized attacher lives an exhausting reality. They deeply crave intimacy and connection, but the very moment they achieve it, they feel terrified and pull away. Then, once they pull away, they feel abandoned and rush right back. It's an incredibly turbulent experience, constantly being hit by both anxious and avoidant triggers at the exact same time.
Let's shift gears to Section 3. It's not your personality.
This right here is the crucial realization. Your attachment style isn't your personality. It's your nervous system's best survival strategy. I really encourage you to let that sink in for a second. It is not who you are. We spend so much time in relationships just beating ourselves up, don't we? Asking things like, why am I so incredibly needy? Or why am I so cold and distant? Why do I always self-sabotage a perfectly great romance? We absolutely must stop blaming our personalities. What you are experiencing, what your partner is experiencing, is not a character defect. It is a brilliant, highly effective biological strategy designed by a much younger version of you to keep you safe in the specific environment you grew up in. Your brain did exactly what it was supposed to do. It adapted to survive. The only issue? You're now using a map designed for a childhood survival environment to try and navigate a healthy adult relationship. That map isn't your personality, it's just the tool you were handed.
And that brings us to Section 4, updating your survival strategy.
The ultimate takeaway from all this is that strategies can be updated. Because these attachment styles are just biological strategies, rather than fixed, immutable personality traits, they can absolutely be rewired. Our brains are incredibly plastic. Now, it takes time, of course it does. It requires conscious self-awareness, a whole lot of patience, and actively building new habits. But you can literally teach your nervous system that a partner going out with friends is just a night out, not some impending abandonment. You can teach your body that someone wanting emotional closeness is an invitation for genuine love, not a trap meant to suffocate you. By recognizing your triggers and actively choosing to respond differently, you slowly write a brand new script for your brain.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought. What outdated strategy is your nervous system ready to let go of? Are you ready to stop clinging to shadows out of fear? Are you ready to lower the drawbridge and finally let someone truly see you? The hidden architecture of your intimacy might have been built a long time ago, but you're the architect now. You have the knowledge, and you absolutely have the power to remodel. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Take a little time to reflect on your own strategies, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.